So there are some other problems with the idea that this idea that I'm talking about, that human society, or at least the relationship between the sexes in human society today, is a result of sexual selection and men's and women's natural role. Right. One of the kind of the typical the catchphrase of the whole world, of that whole worldview, is that men compete, women choose. That men compete for female attention. Right. So this is 17 magazine. This is pink on the cover, and I'd like to just read aloud a few of these, of the features, stories, if you could call them that, on the cover of this edition. This is I don't know. I guess it was in December or something. I'm not sure, but 17 magazine. Its circulation is probably millions strong. I don't know. I haven't done the research, but it's obviously a popular magazine. A lot of you probably heard of it. Some of you may even have seen one of these in your house if you have like a sister or something. But right. So okay. So keep this in mind. Right. The obvious truth is, we all know the obvious truth is, men compete, women choose. Right. So keep that in mind as I'm reading these. Over 459 pretty looks you'll love for less. Bonus, new spring fashion under $20. Down here, Hookup Report, what guys really expect. How about this? Your 2009 ultimate body plan, get healthy and hot. Below that, free makeover, turn to page 49. And right here, at the bottom middle, get amazing hair, make it soft, shiny, and full. Right. So obviously this is clear evidence that men compete and women choose, right? Because none of these stories have anything to do with women competing or vying for the attention or affection of men, right? Yeah. See, the thing is, if you just look around your house, or I don't know, go watch a movie or something, if you're exposed to popular culture, the problem with this whole argument that sexual selection has decided our current condition as humans, that whole idea just seems to kind of come apart at the seams when you actually look around you and you actually start looking at evidence, right? Because this magazine, this widely circulated magazine, right, would seem to demonstrate the fact that women, or in this case adolescent girls, are competing for male affection amongst themselves just as much as boys are amongst themselves. So this idea that men compete, women choose, when applied to humans, is extremely oversimplified. That may be the case in parts of the animal kingdom, but it's obviously not the case in human society. Obviously. I mean, you have only to look at the cover of a widely circulated magazine to know this. Some people love to, talk about how men are the only people who, men are the people who die for their country. That they're the ones whose bodies litter the battlefields, past and present. And this is symptomatic of the larger devaluation of women's work in society. Women's work is absolutely crucial for the functioning of a nation in wartime and for its security and freedom. Even Nazi propaganda posters during World War II idealized women's work and women's position in the home front as necessary for successful war effort and a successful New World Order, I guess, for Hitler. But the point is that even the Nazis, right, the biggest woman haters in history, even they realized how crucial women's work is for the functioning of a society, and how crucial the home front is for the support of the boys who are fighting overseas. Nazi posters idealized women's work Allied posters did the same, Allied propaganda posters did the exact same thing. Keep them flying, Miss USA. Everybody, I mean, it's iconic now, right? How women's work, especially during World War II, how you couldn't have had, how we would not have had a successful war effort, at least the Allied side, without the American women who stepped into all the production and the industry during World War II. Believe it or not, women fight and die on the battlefields too. What about the numerous accounts across history about women who impersonate men, who actually impersonate men in order to join the military? What about, fortunately nowadays, the women who don't have to impersonate men in order to join the military? What about the fact that women are prohibited from combat roles? I mean, maybe you'd have more women fighting for the country and the territory, you know, if you'd let them do so, if you actually let them fight. Did anybody ever think about that? What about the new trend in suicide bombing, where you have a woman, a mother, a sister, who, you know, packs a vest bomb full of shrapnel and walks into a crowded mall? I mean, what about all these people, right? So, you know, all we're seeing here, this idea that only men die for their countries, right, it's just a denial of evidence, of ages, centuries of historical evidence, right? It's just right in front of you. It's not difficult to see these things. It's not difficult to see that this idea that only men are the people who are dying for their countries is just so transparent false. Now, I know somebody's thinking, what about the draft? What about the fact that men are drafted and women aren't, in America at least? Yeah, you know what? I do think that's terrible. I think it's terrible that men are drafted, not that women aren't drafted, right? See, I oppose the draft altogether. When I see people being put into harm's way involuntarily, I don't think to myself, yeah, let's solve that by putting more people into harm's way voluntarily. I think, let's just stop the process altogether. The funny thing is, here's something interesting, right? When the draft has been instituted in the past in the United States, feminist groups and women's groups have been at the forefront of trying to get it to stop. See, women's groups are one of the most important parts of the anti-Vietnam War movement in the 60s, right? Which, of course, as we all know, people were young men, too many young men were drafted to fight in Vietnam, right? And at the front lines of the protests against the Vietnam War were women's groups. See, that's the thing. That's the thing that a lot of people don't really, that they want to ignore. They don't want to think about the fact that women have been against men being drafted since the women's movement started.